Hello and welcome back to the concluding part of this lecture series on Kashmir Conundrum. So today, at the very outset, we are going to discuss the three grand strategies that has been prominent with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. These three grand strategies relate to the possible end game that can bring the quest for peace, as the title of this topic illustrates. The quest for peace in the troubled land of Kashmir, according to various experts, are dependent, or if we try to summarize, then they can broadly be summarized in three grand strategies. Though at the very outset, at the very beginning, I see that these three grand strategies can be given an acronym of three A's. Now, what are the three A's? The first A of this grand strategy, or the first grand strategy, is the strategy of abdication. Abdication, as the literal meaning says, it means we want to abdicate from Kashmir, or we want to leave our legal position on Kashmir. So those supporting this strategy are mainly the so-called intellectual class or certain sections among them. So it will be difficult to name them here because it is not appropriate, but you can very well assume who I am referring to. There are certain people who actually have been proponent of this idea. So what is their idea? Their idea is that, according to them, India doesn't have a strong moral or legal position in Kashmir, and they suggest to accept the demand of the people of Jammu and Kashmir at this moment, but at this point of history. That means what is the end game that they foresee? The end game is government of India conceding to separatists like Hurriyat, separatists and other Kashmiri separatists with pro-Pakistan ideas or pro-Pakistan bias. So they suggest that government of India should concede to. That is they do not directly say this, but that is the implication of their strategy. So they consider the scenario of pre-1954. What happened in 1954? The presidential order 1954 and all those things were there. So what they suggest is complete independence of Jammu and Kashmir to an extent. Complete independence. But this strategy has selective amnesia or selective absenteeism, you can say. They are not having the full picture, full spectrum view of the issue. As we discussed, there were two very significant events that happened. The invasion of Kashmir in 1947 changed the practical ground scenario of Kashmir, number one. And secondly, the popularly elected Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir themselves attested to the fact that Jammu and Kashmir is an integral part of India. But because history, you can say, it should have moved towards more integration towards India, but because of vested interest at play, history moved in the reverse direction. Means there was more separatist demand. All these things actually was a later development. The Kashmir of 50s was no longer the Kashmir of 70s and 80s. There were multiple interests at play in 70s and 80s. So that way we cannot accept this idea. This will be like surrendering your sovereignty, surrendering your territorial integrity. That is actually something that no government of India can ever accept and has ever accepted. So this is the first strategy pertaining to Jammu and Kashmir. The second one is something which has been the prominent strategy while dealing with Jammu and Kashmir. This is the second strategy that again has starts with the letter A. It means attrition. Attrition means long drawn war. So this has been the strategy up till now. So what is the broad framework of this strategy? It is that you create a security grid in Jammu and Kashmir, and eventually you might have heard something called war weariness. Now, with respect to Ukraine war, you might have heard that the possible end to the war may be war weariness because it has gone for almost 2 years. So, no, it has been more than 2 years. 21 February, I think it started. 22, 23. So more than 2 years has happened. So war weariness is also a reason why wars end. Similar ideas are foreseen in this strategy of attrition. That means once the war keeps on dragging, and remember, this is something that happened in case of, you can say, Northeast insurgencies in Northeast India. So war weariness generally comes. Okay, so people, as I said earlier, the main fuel for insurgency or for any such movement is the support of the people. So once war weariness sets in, people stop support to the militants, or the movement itself dies its own death. Again, we can draw analogy from the national movement. Mahatma Gandhi's strategy of what was the Mahatma Gandhi's strategy? Strike, truce, strike, STS strategy. So there will be an active phase of the movement, then there will be a passive phase of the movement. Because you cannot sustain a movement for long duration, there will be weariness among people. So similar ideas were foreseen under this strategy, assuming that if you keep a continued security grid in Kashmir for a long duration, then war weariness will set in, insurgency will naturally die, and people will naturally stop supporting them because they will begin to develop, or they will slowly understand how they are losing it, how their general well-being is being affected because of the disturbing scenario in their state. So they will look to bring peace in the region. So that has been the strategy. But is it a successful strategy? Had it been a successful strategy, we could have solved the problem by now, because this has been going on since 47. But the strategy of attrition has not been helpful. Actually, militancy has waxed and waned. So we can say the strategy has not been helpful. And militancy has actually been on the rise, has been on the rise. This I am talking pre-2019 event. Okay, so till then this strategy was very much the dominant strategy, and cost has increased. So militancy increased, cost increased, lives lost has been increased. So why is it so? Why war weariness did not set in? Now, had you been in direct interaction with me, then I could have got many ideas from you. But since you are not, so I would like to know any other suggestion that you might have other than what I did. So what is the general view is that why willingness has not set in is the support, external support the support from Pakistan, both in terms of manpower and money. So for every 100 terrorists, there are only around 30 to 40 homegrown. The rest are coming from outside. So that way, your insurgency keeps on growing. So the external support that the movement or the disturbance in Jammu and Kashmir has received from countries like Pakistan, as well as in a way indirectly USA has also looked the other way and allowed Pakistan to do their mischief in early 50s, or sorry, in early 2000s, like post 9/11. So activities of China also is a, you cannot directly blame China, but in a way, international factors are at play. Disturbances in Afghanistan fueling insurgency in Jammu and Kashmir is a direct link. There has been many studies, because whenever Afghanistan has been unstable, it has resulted into spillover of disturbances in Jammu and Kashmir. So all these factors, because Kashmir, as I said at the very outset, Kashmir is not a local problem for India, although it is it is something which is within the territory of India, but so many interests, external interests are involved. So that keeps giving fuel to the problem. So that is why we see that the strategy of attrition has not been successful. So under the given situation, under the given circumstances, the rules of engagement had to be changed or needed to be changed. So what is the latest strategy, or what is the third grand strategy relating to Kashmir? It is the assimilationist strategy. That means full integration of Jammu and Kashmir into the Union of India. So what are the features of this strategy? It is the change of the constitutional status. That means there is no 370, no 35A. So what did it create? It created, if you go by this strategy, then all these things created the blockage or roadblock for full integration of the state to the Union of India. See, 35A, what did it do? It froze the demography of Kashmir. You could not have a mixed democracy, because if you give the power to the local assembly, the state assembly, to define who are the permanent resident, that itself created a roadblock for any other Indians to go and settle there. So there is freeze on demography, and the continuation of these two articles, according to this strategy, is not helpful for the envisaged final integration, which was the idea behind Article 370 itself. Because if you remember, if you can recall, as I said in our last class, 370 itself had the provision for its own demise. What does it mean? The framers of 370 wanted full integration of Kashmir to India at an ideal time, but there were interests who wanted to keep the status quo active so that they could gain from the problems that kept on festering. So the envisaged final integration was not possible with the existing legal framework. So continuation of 370 and 35A was not helpful under the strategy of assimilation. So as the title of the 370 itself says, the provision was temporary and transitional provision, as I hope you people know. We have discussed these things before. So the provision was temporary because of the belief in the idea that there will be complete integration of the state to India. But unfortunately, what happened? But history, as I told you just now, history moved in the other direction. Like how did history move? History was supposed to move towards integration of Jammu and Kashmir to India, but what we saw in the 50s and 60s and 70s and greatly in the 80s and 90s. So there was more separatist trends. Separatist trends rose, alienist trends rose. So it became Kashmir went towards more alienation from India, went towards more separation from India. Obviously, I'm not talking about all of Kashmir. There were interests in Kashmir who were pushing these agendas more, and they were getting active support from people beyond the border. So, keeping this strategy in mind, the government has brought the changes or did bring the changes on August 5, 2019. The idea was that what worse can happen? What worse can happen? Worse has already happened. We can now explore another option rather than lingering on the same strategy of attrition, where what was the modus operandi, or what was the process that has been repeated. There will be a period of peace, then Pakistan will finger India or try to poke in the affairs of India. There will be disturbance for a period, then there will be a period of relative calm, then another period. So Pakistan always has the initiative. They, on their own interest, on their own time frame, they could intervene in India. Okay, so the original idea we were losing, we were always at the back foot. So now this has actually changed the ground reality. And be mindful of the fact that 2019, by 2019, there were certain, as I referred to, international factors at play. So there was the changing international environment. You should also appreciate this fact. Why 370, or why the movement or step, why 5th August 2019 happened, or why the changes that on that day happened. So the changing international environment is also one significant factor. So here you can refer to mainly two things. Number one is the changes in Afghanistan. So what did we see in 2021? So actually this was foreseen in that period only, because Trump was saying that they will withdraw any day from Afghanistan. So it was visualized by the policy circles that once US completely withdraws from Afghanistan, then there is the possibility of instability, like in the 90s, returning to Afghanistan. And because of that, the possibility of spillover of conflict or spillover of terrorism to Jammu and Kashmir. So it required an active role of India in Kashmir, or active role India needed to be on the ground, or needed to actively control the situation on the ground. Sorry. This is the number one international factor. And second factor is the rising Chinese ambition. So China, as I told you in last class, their policies, or their policies like the BRI that we see in India in the form of CPAC, those were like active intervention in the region. Then we saw something like Doklam in Bhutan border, then Galwan in early or April 2020. So all those things were like disturbances on border were going on, both in the LSC and LOC. So all these things meant that India had to show, or India had to assert, that Jammu and Kashmir's territory is India's territory, and India will not compromise in any sense, and is even ready to take hard decisions. Okay, so that is why this international angle is also at play. Actually, many assume, according to some experts, the speech that Home Minister Amit Shah gave on Parliament regarding when this Jammu and Kashmir reorganization bill was passed, he rightly said that we are going to, we are not only talking about POK, we are also talking about the Aksai Chin area. And Aksai Chin, which is the area of Aksai Chin, and there is this is Attrition, and this is occupied by China. So this element is also there. So according to certain experts, the problems that is happening in this region, Galwan, Dolan Begoldi, DBO, then and there is this lake is here, na? What was the name of that lake? The nine finger region. So the problems are happening in this region. So one of the, according to certain experts, the events of 5 August may be the precipitate or may have been the instigation or instigated China to act that way. But China has a long-term thinking. They have long-term strategy. They would have done this whatever, in spite of what India would have done, because their construction on border activities that they were doing, they were doing them long back. So they had intentions of creating disturbances in the border, regardless of India what India would have done. But and you should support the fact that India's territorial assertion actually strengthens India's position, not only domestically, but also at the international level. So these are the three broad strategies. I hope you are clear with them. And along with it, you can suggest or you can make some suggestions like moving forward, how the situation can be made better. So obviously taking a stakeholder approach to the problem, like involving all stakeholders, that means security forces, media, local people, local politicians, they should be brought on the same front, and like um, they should be made aware of the fact that we are all working for the development of the region, for the welfare of the people of the region, and for the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India. So all these things and addressing concerns of the youth of that region, like or then obviously what we say is sometimes in negative light, but propaganda is something, propaganda, when you say with respect to propaganda, effective propaganda management is very important in controlling a disturbed area. Now, what is happening in Manipur? Things have opened up, but again, the problems are rising because of propaganda. Negative propaganda is spreading, and people are again, you can say, rather than negative propaganda more spreading, government has not been successful in spreading positive propaganda. Propaganda is a good thing. Propaganda means promotion. You have to promote things in a manner such that peace returns or peace sustains. But if you are not able to effectively manage the propaganda, or you are not managing it properly, then negative propaganda will be everywhere. And in the day and age of social media, if you're not using it properly, effective use of social media is not done properly, then it will be misused. So all these things are also very important. Management of propaganda, management of social media, and do not consider this term as negative or positive per se. These are just blind, like these are objective terms, propaganda, social media. The way you put it to use, that the use makes it good or bad, positive or negative. So all these things can be put to positive use to bring peace in the village. So so that is how things are on the ground. And now, if we see, like there, it has almost been how many years? Almost 4 years. Actually, more than 4 years since the events of 2019, and now we are at a position to assess whether the changes brought about in August 15, sorry, August 5, have and has it brought any changes on the ground. So in this regard, also we have seen many reports, many studies conducted, and the general view is that the Kashmir strategy is working. Although, as I pointed out, the events that happened on September 13 at Kokarnag and similar such incidents at other places has been a nuisance or has been a matter of concern, but the general situation has actually improved. And there has been events which are actually unprecedented. Like after the coconut tragedy, there was the candlelight march. There was condolence among people of Kashmir. They showed solidarity with the army. That is quite an unprecedented event. While a decade back, they were shouting slogans at armies. They were like, you must have seen on social media how they treated the sentiments of local people was towards the army. And obviously, there has been incidences which have spurred such developments. But uh, for the returning of peace to Kashmir, there is the Indian Army or Indian security grid should have, first of all, the faith of the local people that they are there to bring peace. They are not there to sustain their power or have, like, use them as pawns in a conflict between India and Pakistan or other players. But they are there for their welfare. That attitude should be passed over to the local people, and they should have that idea that yes, these are our fallen heroes. They have fought, and they have fought to bring peace in the valley, and they are dying to bring welfare to us. So that was evident through the solidarity march that was taken after the events of Kokarnag, or the tragic death of the four fallen heroes of Indian Army. Three Indian Army officers, two officers, one Jawan, and one police officer from Jammu and Kashmir Police. So other than that, objectively speaking, there are reports of Ministry of Home Affairs which has the facts which illustrates this point that why Kashmir strategy is working. So there is this figure, 2nd October 2016 to 4th August, 4th August 2019. There were 959 acts of terror. But in between 5th August 2019 to 6th June 2022, the total number has come down to 654. That means there is a 32% decline. Then deaths. Security personnel or security forces, that has come down by 52%. 52% decline. And civilian deaths has declined by 14%. Then cross-border infiltration. In 2019, it was 141 incidents. In 2020, it came down to 51. In 2021, it came down to 34. And in 2022, it came down to 14. And till June 2023, it was 0. Cross-border infiltration. These are MHA data. Then tourist visits. 2022, 1.85 crore visited the UT of Jammu and Kashmir. 2023, the number went up to 2.25 crore, record number of tourists. So there we see progress. Then Jammu and Kashmir has seen huge infrastructure development. So in terms of infrastructure development, highway and tunnel projects, you should know the name of the tunnel projects, big tunnel projects that has gone or has happened there. 1.5 lakh crore rupees, that means 1.5 trillion rupees projects are underway. And every day, whereas earlier only 6 kilometers of roads per day were built. Right now, 50 kilometers of roads are getting built. These are actually silent peace that is going on without the hype and hoopla of the media. These are the methods through which actually you can bring peace. When there will be development, there will be economic opportunities that will itself actually create more space for peace to come. But if there is no development, there is no opportunity, no aspiration, no hope for people to have a better life, then obviously they will be they will be thrown towards the military. Then investment is a very interesting data. From 1947 to 2021, investment worth rupees 13,000 came in 13,000 crore to 14,000 crore. Was the average investment per year. But right now, it has gone up to 20 to 25,000 crore, and around 70 to 80,000 crore are on the pipeline. So you can summarize it in terms of investment increasing manifold in Jammu and Kashmir. Investment is rising, infrastructure growth happening, tourism is happening, number of deaths are coming down, for of security personnel, cross-border infiltrations are coming down. In fact, you might have heard the biggest mall in North India is going to be constructed where? It will be constructed at Srinagar. It's a Dubai-based group. They are constructing a 10 lakh square feet mall. It will be the largest in North India, biggest in North India. Then policy steps like you might have heard or you should know the scheme in the universal health scheme, insurance scheme that India has. That is Pradhan Mantri Jana Arogya Yojana, PMJAY. Whereas in the rest of India, it is a targeted or selective scheme, wherein in people below a certain threshold of income are covered under this scheme. But in Jammu and Kashmir, every family is covered. So you can well imagine the soft power that can be generated by such a step. Soft power is not only relevant at international level, it is also important for settling domestic issues. Soft power is something such steps can actually accentuate. Actually, in this regard, the current Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir said that in a media report, government or administration is spending rupees 2 crore per day for treatment of people under this scheme. Per day, you are spending 2 crore for people under this scheme. So, other than this, schemes encouraging entrepreneurship, then conducting of sports tournaments for youth. So these are obviously certain steps that will go in parallel. There has to be a comprehensive peace process in Kashmir. Comprehensive peace process will have a security dimension, no doubt, but it will obviously have all these aspects like dimension on youth empowerment, dimension on sports, all the things, cultural development, tourism, all these things will be a part of the package deal that will bring peace to Kashmir. So right now, if what the basic agenda for India is basically, if you have to summarize it, the agenda for India is development of Kashmiris as fellow Indians and restoration of political activity, because political activity is not happening there, and commerce, obviously, in Jammu and Kashmir. So this is the basic agenda. We want development of Kashmiris as fellow Indians, and we want the restoration of political activity. So this is how the current strategy is working out, and how we can say that in spite of certain sporadic events, we are seeing the peace dividend on the ground. We are able to reap the peace dividend after 4 years of hard work. Or like, it has been a continued process. There has been sincere effort from government since 47 itself to bring solid peace to the ground. But right now we are seeing practical events happening, practical changes happening. So this is it for this class. Next class, we will conclude this topic with an understanding of the fact why the role of Pakistan has made the problem so complex. How Pakistan looks at Kashmir issue. Okay, so till we meet again, thank you.